Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So this is our second virtual meetup of this month. Last 2 weeks back, we have done C Sharp, PowerShell to C Sharp and back session. So this will be the second one of this month. So displayed is the session details and about me, myself, Prasun Karunan, and I work as a software technologist and part of Bangalore IT professional community. I moderate PowerShell.org, and that's my Twitter handle. And in this session, I'll be showing, PowerShell. How do we do an open source contribution basically in PowerShell? Because PowerShell is open sourced from a couple of years back, and we were actually, I mean, many of us were actually waiting for it because we have. Lot of we had a lot of feedbacks, and there was only one place called user voice where we can submit our ideas or submit bugs, and we will have to wait for 1 or 2 years to have a different version released as Windows management framework. So open sourcing the tool makes it very easy that we can immediately report bug, and we can get the fix within maybe 1 or 2 months. And more than that, we have an opportunity to participate in the discussions, to submit ideas, to work with the PowerShell team, to work with community experts, and it's actually super awesome. But what I have seen is many of us are actually a little afraid of doing such things because they think that it's all difficult. PowerShell is written in C Sharp. I don't know C Sharp, so how will I do? I have some ideas, but how do I uh, do some contributions? Whether it's is it possible for me to do something like that? So all those problems will hit us. I mean, we will think, and we'll end up not doing anything. So this session, I will show you how easy it is, because there are lot more things that we can do. It could be just by doing a grammar correction to hi-fi things, based on what we can do. But nevertheless, we should try at least to do that, right? So this is the only slide I have. It's all live session. So first thing, so I will be using VS Code as an editor here, and remaining part will be a Git and GitHub. So I hope you have understanding on Git and GitHub. So not much Git knowledge is required here, maybe some few commands. And GitHub, I think you are well aware of GitHub. So moving on, so PowerShell is open sourced and it's in GitHub, and let me directly go to the PowerShell repository. The URL is github.com/PowerShell. This is the organization name, and this is the repository name. And now we have the PowerShell repository opened. So here, this is a new GitHub UI, and I have enabled some new UI beta features, but it's not much different. You can see there are a lot of sections here: code, issues, pull request, which we'll be going through in this session. And all the source code is actually available here. This, you can say, kind of a root directory for the PowerShell source code. A couple of files, or 90% of the files here will be actually available. I mean, in the compile form in our systems as PowerShell, and a couple of other files are actually for the development and build and release process. And contribution means, the contribution doesn't mean that a code change that you're doing is going to always sit in PowerShell.exe or PowerShell in PowerShell, part of PowerShell built-in modules or PowerShell engine. It can be a contribution for improving the build process, improving the release process, or many things, right? So, and right side here, you can see the releases. Once you click here, you can see all the releases made by PowerShell. So far 88 releases has been done. This is the latest one. And the first thing, when we reach GitHub repository, what we should do is we have to read the README file, where it will tell us about the project, what this repository is for, and mostly about the tool, about the software. So I'm not going to read this full, but we'll be going through some couple of important areas. So here it shows in what all operating system PowerShell core is supported. The main area where we had to read is the developing and contribution area, where because there will be a lot of guidelines, right? Because it's owned by Microsoft, but anyone can commit their code. So there are certain rules defined by the authors or the owners. So that is actually briefly explained or in detail explained in the contribution guide. So just need to click it and it will open another markdown file where it's neatly, beautifully explained what all are the prerequisites, what all are the expectations, what are the process to do some contributions. All those details are actually mentioned here. And there is a process like, okay, if you have identified a bug, then it's called an issue in GitHub. And not only bugs, everything. If you want to submit a feature request here in PowerShell, that also is considered as an issue, but with a feature tag like that. So all those details are actually mentioned here, how to contribute an issue. Similarly, you can contribute to documentation as well, right? We read a lot of documentation. Documentation here means the built-in help or the online help or commands. So those things also we will find that sometimes the example will be obsolete, sometimes there will be grammar mistakes. All those things can be corrected. So that will be that's sitting in a different repository, but it's still a part of PowerShell. So that will be in a PowerShell-docs repository, and it has its own contribution guide. And I suggest you to read this if you have any idea or any plans to do a simple contribution in PowerShell. So this is very much mandatory to read. Similarly, the suggested code editor is VS Code. It's awesome. And this is another important step that, okay, I got some idea or I got a bug that I can fix, and I'm sure that I can fix it, but how do I test it, right? Because without testing, I should not be giving back the code to the team, because that's not fair, right? So I should be making sure that, okay, the code changes that I have done is actually not breaking anything and it's working fine. So I should be able to test PowerShell. So to test that, first I should build the PowerShell, right? So the term build normally won't be much familiar for operations or operation guys or administrators, because that doesn't come in our daily life, right? When we do administration. But in software development, build is something that we use every then and now, there and now, right? So building is nothing but it's building the software, right? All the source code will get compiled and we'll get an exe or we'll get an DLL, like Pratik shown in the previous session, right? He just built an hello world solution and we got a DLL or an exe. Similarly, PowerShell also has an exe as an output, so we just need to build it. Once we build, we'll get the new custom PowerShell with the code changes which we have done. So I will be showcasing that as well. Next, what is the testing? So that means, okay, I have got the new PowerShell exe with all the changes what I have done, but I have to test it. So with the new exe, I will open PowerShell console, then I should be able to test it. So we can do testing in different ways, right? We can just try executing command with the change we have done, but it might not cover all the scenarios, because the one commander can be used in different ways, right? It has a lot of parameters. It has a lot of other behaviors. So PowerShell team, along with the community, has already written a lot of tests for each and every features in PowerShell. It's almost 100% covered. Mostly it's covered, and tests are actually written in Pester. And I believe many of you have already heard of Pester. Pester is a testing and validation framework for PowerShell, which is written in PowerShell. And even now Microsoft is also using Pester for testing PowerShell. So here also it is tested in written in Pester. So we will be executing the Pester test for the changes what we are doing, so that we'll make sure it is not breaking anything existing and it is working with the new change as well. Yeah. Then once it is tested, okay, I have the local changes ready. It's working. Now I had to give back the code. To give back, what should I do, right? So I have to actually raise a request so that I have some code changes done to fix this bug. So can you take it from me? That is called pull request. I'm requesting PowerShell team to pull the code changes from my copy of the code, right? So that copy of the code is actually called fork. That's a term used in most of the version control system, fork. So about fork. So if you already have a GitHub account, you normally land up in PowerShell and you will see a fork button at the top right corner, right? Fork. You can see 3.4K people have already forked it. So the moment I click fork, what will happen is it will actually have a it will actually have create a copy with, but it will put it in my account. You can see here it's my account, but it has named it as PowerShell repository, but it will always have a reference that from where the uh, code is for, I mean, the repository is forked from, so that it always know from where I have come. So that we will call as upstream. So for me, this is my repository and this is the upstream. Just remember the term, it's called upstream. Now I am the owner of this repository, Prasoon/PowerShell. So I'm the owner of this repository. So I have the latest code changes, okay? And what next I have to do is I should be cloning this repository. For that, with the new UI, the option will be under this code button. Then you'll get the clone URL. Just need to copy it. Then we'll go to VS Code, and I have VS Code with the Git bash installed. So VS Code recognize it, and I can open it as an integrated terminal. So here I have a folder created C/GitHub. It's just a Windows file system, but it's shown in a Linux way because I have opened Git bash. But it is the same. Next, what I will do is I will do a clone. Then I'll just paste the clone URL. So it is taking from my account because then only I will have permission to clone. Otherwise, if I do cloning of PowerShell/PowerShell, I won't have permission because I'm not a collaborator or I'm not a maintainer of that repository. But for my account, I am the maintainer and I am the all-in-on one, right? So I should be able to clone it. Here I'm not going to clone because I have already cloned it. And you can see I have the PowerShell repository cloned here. So the moment you clone, Git exe will create a folder with the repository name, and it will place all the files in that folder with the same directory structure. So I'm going to navigate to that PowerShell repository, which now it is my local repository. And the moment I switch to that repo, you can see a new a different colored stuff has come into my prompt, which is actually showing it as master. That means this is the master. Git has a branch concept, right? So this is a master repository. So by default, it will switch to the default branch. And for PowerShell, it is master. But this master is something kind of a golden copy or a release copy. Nobody is going to ever directly do code changes on master. So for whatever we do, we have to always create a branch, then do the code changes in that branch. Then we will try to merge that code to master. So I will show that process as well. So with that said, we'll move to PowerShell repository, back to PowerShell repository, and we'll try to identify an issue. For this session, I have already identified a bug. So next step, what we have to do is we have to go to the issues area. So in the issues section, we'll see a lot of issues here. There are 5,250 issues already closed and 2,520 issues open, right? Many of them are open 1 or 2 years back, not much of priority or like that. Many are there, and these are the open issues, currently open issues. You can see it's very easily understandable from the one-liner item, like what is the issue. And you can see the red and blue and white colored items. Those are called labels, where it will easily convey us that what is this issue related to, where it will go, whether it's an issue, whether it's a question, whether it is already resolved, or in which area. Here you can see it's showing area-remoting. That means this issue is something related to PowerShell remoting. Similarly, here you can see area core. It's something related to PowerShell core module. Here you can see it's area build. That means it's nothing related to PowerShell as a software, but it's something related to the build of the tool, some build related issue. Similarly, utility module, PowerShell has PowerShell.utility module. So this bug is somewhere inside the utility module. So these labels will be set by the collaborators. The moment we raise the issue, they will review in which section the issue will come, and they will put the label so that it's very easy for somebody who come and try to fix it. Where should I go and check for the issue? So here the label which I want to introduce is up for grabs, right? So all these issues are actually from very simple to very complex. So as a beginner or somebody who doesn't know much C# or somebody who doesn't know the internals, the best place to go is actually this black colored up for grabs. So what this issue mean is, this label mean is the PowerShell team or the collaborators have identified that this is something which is of mostly low priority. So the PowerShell team is not going to take up this soon, but they welcome anyone from the community fix this issue. So it's up for grabs. Anyone can take it, no problem. But we are not restricted only for up for grabs. We can take any issues. There are no restrictions, but this is explicitly called out that okay, this can be taken by anyone in the community. So the moment I click this, all the issues will get filtered, and it will show only for up for grabs. See, you can see the command used by Git. Now it is showing only up for grabs. There are 16 issues which are opened and allowed for, not just allowed, the called out as okay, PowerShell team is not going to take much priority on this, but anyone who wants can fix it. There are a lot, right? 216. So the one which actually I have decided is this one, the split path. The switch parameters for split path should be mandatory. Actually, I was going through one by one, so I thought, okay, this is a quick fix so that I can just show it as a demo. So once we click, it'll open another page with the details. So once we get into this page, we should be definitely reading everything carefully, because if you understand it in a different way or wrong, then the entire thing, whatever you're going to do, will be completely wrong and won't make any sense. So here Sean is the content developer who is actually maintaining the docs repo for PowerShell. He has identified some issue which is related to split path commandlet. So I'm sure that you all are familiar with split path commandlet. So this PR is actually with respect to some confusion in the documentation and the syntax, which is shown in the PowerShell console. So here he actually identified that okay, when this is a helper function that he would have wrote, so it's actually giving all the possible way of execution of split path commandlet, and he has the confusion that in the documentation some of the parameters are shown as mandatory, but in the syntax it's not explicitly called out. You can see here whatever is actually written within the square bracket are normally optional parameters, but for this commandlet, apart from parent and literal path, all these are actually mandatory in their own respective parameters. Parameters are nothing but kind of overloads, right? So split path, by default, let me open a PowerShell console here. Yeah, split path. I'll just do a C user split. So by default, it will just split with the parent directory, right? So default behavior is just split and give me parent directory. So that's the default behavior. So that is the first one, which is shown here, default one. Second one is leave, right? So if I ask for a leave, it will give only leave. So that second switch is actually changing the behavior. So such things are actually handled using parameter sets. It's just an overload for the same command. So Sean's confusion was okay. It's okay. Parent is default, but if I want to get leave, the leave is mandatory, right? To have that behavior, the leave parameter is mandatory, but it is not marked as mandatory for that particular parameter set. It is marked as optional. It's under square brackets. So he was just asking. He just had a look on the source code. So it's just a matter of making mandatory from false to true. That's all. That's the only change which we need. And next thing, what he was thinking, or what we should be thinking is, okay. Now we got okay. We just need to make it mandatory. but is it going to make an impact? Will it break any existing scripts? Because there are a lot of scripts written in PowerShell 6, 7, Auto, all those things, right? So we should be making backward compatibility. We should be always thinking about it. Otherwise, it will be a breaking change and it's not going to get in. If it's only a high priority bug, then only it's going to get in if it's really breaking something. But in this case, we are sure that whoever wants the behavior to, the commandlet to show the leaf would have definitely mentioned leaf. So making this parameter is mandatory is not going to be a problem because it's mandatory only in that particular parameter set, right? Only if I use leaf, it will give leaf, and when I use leaf, it is already mandatory. So let me show the help or the syntax in the console itself so that it will be easy. See the same output. Leaf is marked as optional base, so except parent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All this we'll have to make it as mandatory. So that is the solution here. So, and sometimes we won't be able to understand it properly, right? So it's not at all a problem. What we have to do is we just need to ask questions. We just foresee this guy has some doubt, so he asked some question, and the team has replied. So it's very easy. People are very friendly. Just need to go and type something, and they will come up with the answer. And if you need any help, we can ask them. They'll actually redirect us to a proper documentation. The when I tried doing the first one 2 years back, I was not aware of anything like what is where and not even know much basics of C#. But I got a lot of help from the community and PowerShell team. They have given me a lot of documentation. So that's how we improve ourselves, right? So it's very awesome that they all help each other. So that's the power of community. So next thing is, okay, I have decided that I'm going to take this, so I had to fix. But what we had to do is I should know which file to open, right? There are a lot of files. So let me open PowerShell repository, which is cloned one. So this is uh, the activity area where I can open the folder browser. So I have opened PowerShell, and all the source code for the commands are actually stored under SRC folder. And once you open the folder, you can see a lot of subfolders here, and you can see all this actually refers to modules. PowerShell module. We have a utility module, we have management module. PowerShell has diagnostics module. So what we have to identify next is in which module this split path command comes. So we will use get command, and it will show, okay, the source is PowerShell.management, Microsoft.PowerShell.management. So it made a little easier, right? We just need to open the PowerShell.management, and here you can see commands everywhere, .commands, which are just a folder name, but the module name is just Microsoft.PowerShell.command, PowerShell.management. So let's open that, and here you can see a lot of other folders, but the area which we will be focusing will be the commands folder, where all the source code for the commands are available. And I will be going a little bit on these resources. It's not having any change for this particular bug, but I have to show this as well. It's a little important for some other changes which we do. So let's open commands, and here you can see a lot of C# files, right? Those are just text files, but which will be having C# code. No need to get afraid. We are not going to open everything. And here you can see almost all the file name actually relates to the commandlet, right? Add content commands. That means it is actually a file which is having the source code for add-content commandlet. Similarly, almost 80-85% of the C# files of every module will refer to the naming will refer to the commandlet. Very few will be completely different, but almost 80 to 85% are same when they have named it properly. This is this evenlog.css a code for get evenlog commands. So similar, all -evenlog commands will have source code for such commands will be in this file. So for us it is split path. So let's search for split path. Okay, so now you can see it's not actually named in the name of commandlet. So this is an exception of that 15%, right? Then what we know, okay, it's something related to path. So let's see, is there anything related to path, because we are sure it's under this module, this folder, which we are sure. So next we will have to see whether is there any file which shows something about path. Here is one, ping path. But ping path, yeah, ping path is okay. From the naming, I can think of that ping path would have something called test path or something related, right? Yeah, it is actually of test path. So it won't be ping path. So the one more file which has path in the name is pass path. So let's open pass path and see whether it has anything. Yeah, here you can see it's about split path. Now this is the only file which we have to open for this particular bug fix. Now, okay, so let's go through in detail for this line number 18. I will explain this. You know, PowerShell has a syntax of verb hyphen noun, right? So this is a C# file, and the moment you compile and build, you'll get an out DLL, right? We'll get Microsoft.PowerShell.commands.dll with the namespace name. We'll get a DLL. And you know, some things won't be much familiar, so don't worry. We are going to have an awesome book written by Deepak and Pratik. So the book is going to help us a lot, and I'm also waiting for that book, so that we'll be able to do more, right? So here you can see this command like it's an attribute, and we just think about it as a function. We just passing a couple of inputs. That's all. Just think in that way. And you know, first one is the verb. It's passing a verb, and verb is always control. PowerShell has list of approved verbs. So a verb is always just treat it as an object, and it has a lot of verbs within this. So it's taking the split verb, and noun can be anything. So it's doesn't have any rules as such. So it is a string here. So and the combination will become split hyphen path when it is compiled and we made it as a module. And you know, this is the parameter set name. If you know parameter, it's very easy to parameter set, then it will be easy to understand. And you know, the help URI, which I want to show you, the help URI is actually hard coded here. That means this link, if you open, we'll get the online help for this command. So, you know, when I do a get help split path, down in the under the remarks, you can see a URL. So this is actually coming from that particular section, and it has actually given us the command to get the online help. The moment I hit it, it'll open the online help for this commandlet. So it's very easy, right? Very awesome, because not always the local help will be up to date. So we can, it's always better if you have internet connectivity. It's always good to open the online documentation because it's always up to date. With that said, I'm going down. So, you know, here it starts the parameters area. It has an awesome region block. So under this, all these are actually just private variables, private scoped variables. If you don't understand, don't worry. The book will actually tell you about all those in detail. I hope so. And next one, you can see path parameter, right? So whatever is shown under parameter section as public are actually the parameters which are exposed to the end user, right? So here you can see path. We know path, split path has a path parameter, and it's mandatory. It's mandatory in all the sets, on all behaviors. Path is a must, right? It will have a default value, but it doesn't have a default value actually. If it has, it will show here. So it's mandatory to be provided. So it's mandatory is set to true for all the behaviors. There are these many behaviors for this commandlet, and it's supported. It's available, or it should be used in all the behaviors. But this is not what we are actually looking for. We are looking for hyphen leaf base extension and all these parameters, right? So let's go to that one. Let's see qualifier. Yeah, qualifier. So this is one among the parameters which we want to make it as mandatory. So we got it, and you know, it has a parameter attribute, and we know that from PowerShell functions, it's actually something similar, or PowerShell functions or PowerShell advanced functions. If you know, it's actually its syntax is somewhat similar, that we have a parameter block, parameter attribute block, and where we'll mention that it is mandatory or what is the position and whether it takes value from pipeline, all those things, right? And similarly, it has the type here. In PowerShell, it is just switch, and here it is switch parameter as a type. So we just need to mark it on or off. So probably we will have to add mandatory here. And looking at the second one, no qualifier, which is also in the list, and it's already having the mandatory attribute, but it is set to false. So from the description of the issue, that we are clear that what we need to do is we just need to make it to true, right? Just need to make it to true. That's all. Similarly, parent. Okay, parent parameter is something which is default, and it's already mentioned in the issue that parent, except parent, everything has to be made to true. Joel is the collaborator of PowerShell repository. He has actually detailed it here that except parent, we could make everything as mandatory. So that makes it a little more easier for anyone who want to contribute, right? That rules out a lot of confusion. So with that, we just need to ignore it, because that is default, and default things cannot be mandatory because it's default. So it should be kept it as false. The next one is leaf. Of course, we want to make it as mandatory for the leaf set, because each and every parameter falls under different set. Right? Leaf is under leaf set, so it's not going to impact anything else. Each and every switch has its own world or its own bubble, so it's not going to interact with other behavior. So it's okay to make it mandatory. Similarly, leaf base and is absolute. So here we don't have a mandatory equal to true, so we just need to have it here. And you know, one tip, PowerShell repository is well maintained. Formatting is a key. Even this space is not going to make any problem for C#, but it's a problem for with respect to code readability and best practices. So it's not going to get in. There are automated check for that. I have been hit with that a lot. That's from my experience. So there is one more which is missing, mandatory attribute, so which is qualifier. So we'll keep it there, and we just need to follow conventions here, because mandatory is always second one, and here this has some order change because all other has value from property name at the end. So let's make it same so that code is clean and well readable. Cool. Mandatory should be second. Okay, so we are done with the code change. We are done with the code change. So next one is, okay, I just want to test whether it is reflecting the changes, right? So for that, what I will do is I will open, I just need to build, right? So here I will open an integrated console within VS Code. The shortcut which I have used is Control-Shift-P, which will open command palette, which is kind of a search engine for VS Code. Just ask for whatever you need. If it is available, VS Code is going to show you. So I have already searched for integrated console, so it is showing as a recently used one. Just need to click, so it's going to open an integrated terminal here. Is it not opening? Okay, no problem. No need to waste time there. So I will use the existing one. I can easily do build here. So building, right? Building has the detailed documentation, but let me, I won't be opening the documentation here, but it has PowerShell repository has build related code. You know, there is a file here, a module file, which is just for build. So, you know, we all know how to use a PowerShell module, right? So we'll just import the module here. And once imported, we'll get build commandlets. Let's see what all commands that build module has a lot of commands. The only thing which we are interested now is start ps build. So this is the command which we have to use to build uh, PowerShell with the changes with the source code which we have. But when you do it for the first time, there are a lot of prerequisites, right? Because PowerShell core is on top of .NET and .NET preview or .NET versions, .NET Core, sorry, .NET Core and .NET Core versions keep on changing. So we'll have to always meet the prerequisites. So for that, there is a command which is called start ps bootstrap. What it is going to do is it's going to download the .NET Core version which is required for that particular version of PowerShell, and it's going to install in your system, and it will make it all set for us to start development and building. So I have already done that. It's going to take some time. So to save time, I have already done. I used to do it very often. So next thing what we have to do is we just need to do build. But I have actually didn't follow a convention here because I did the code changes in master branch, right? Master branch. So sorry for that. I should have done this before. So first thing what you have to do is we have to create a branch. I'm in my repository and I am going to create a branch. Git branch ch. So we'll give it some somewhat meaningful name, split path fix, something like that. So I created a branch. So I will check out to that branch so that I can work on the code changes. Now I have just pasted the code with the changes. Yeah. Now you can see at the right side that this is the Git extension area. It will detect the code change, and before you do anything, you just need to click this and we'll review the code side by side so that we'll come to know, okay, I didn't accidentally add any extra characters or anything else which is going to break the code. So we can review that what are the code changes we have, which I have done. In this case, it's very easy because the code changes are very minimal. Next, we'll be doing the build. Now see, now it is actually dependent on .NET Core 5 preview. 3 days back it was .NET Core 3.1. Now they have updated the 5th preview because it's under development. What all we are doing is of development, code, right? Development version. So it's not a released version. So that means next version of the PowerShell will be using .NET 5, next preview version. So it's building all the DLLs. We can build a specific DLL as well, but I didn't opt that now. It's very quick. You know, this is the output. It's already showing the output. This is the new exe which we have just built. Wow. So we have done with that. So this is a little difficult, right? It's a big path and we won't be able to type or so that it's printed, but there is a built-in command within the build module so that we can open the newly built PowerShell. It's called start dev PowerShell. When I hit it, it will open this particular PowerShell pwsh.exe, the newly built PowerShell. Looks like it has some problem. Probably another bug which we can fix. So let's open it separately. Yeah. Now we got the new PowerShell and we'll have to ignore this. This is some other bug where it is still showing an old version, but it's not a problem. It is something that we have newly built. To really identify that, what we have to do is we just need to do a get command split path syntax. Let me make it side by side. So this is an old one and this is the new one. What we have seen, what we have on the right side is a new one, and what we have in the left side is an old one. So do a get command. And do the syntax here as well. Now you can see is absolute, is mandatory. It doesn't have the square bracket here. I think this is also a new one. This is also an, let's open, sorry. Get command. It's an old one where leaf has a bracket, that means it's optional. but in this new one, Leaf doesn't have that because we just made it as mandatory. That means our changes have actually gone in. So we have done the code change. There is nothing broke. I mean, nothing broke basic. I mean, in the basic functionality, because the exe is working, it's running. We are able to get the help file, and our change is reflecting here. What next we have to do is we have to test it, right? So we can just test this with, again, get command, sorry, split path, and make sure the default functionality is working. Yeah, it's giving parent. If I use leave, it is giving leave. If I use leaf base, it is giving that same. So it's working. So next thing is, okay, I have tested some scenarios, but there will be a lot of other scenarios which are already automated, right? For that, what we have to do is we have to identify the test files. So along with the same src folder, just down you can see there is a test folder. So in the test folder, there is a PowerShell folder, and under modules for management, we just need to look for split path test file. Yes. Just need to copy the path and execute it in our newly built command in PowerShell. And for that, we have to import the pester module. Then we just need to invoke the test file. It's taking time to import this module. Yeah. So invoke pester, just give the file name. It's going to execute all the automated tests. So no failures. That means it's okay. Whatever changes we have done, it's not impacting anything. So we are good to do the commit. That means I'm going to do the commit here. Add all the code changes. Git commit. Make other switches mandate. Give a meaningful commit message. This is the commit message. Then just need to push. So this -u origin is required only when you do or when you publish the branch for the first time, because I just created it locally and my server version of Git doesn't understand, so I just need to publish it. So I'm just publishing, and along at the same time I'm pushing it. You can see it is having the publish icon here, but now it has gone because I already published. So next time when you do say change in the same branch, I don't want to do that because it's already published. Okay, so the changes have gone in my GitHub repository, and before switching to the GitHub repository, I will show the resources which I have mentioned before, right? Under management, or I will open some other module. Resources. So resources are actually kind of XML file, a custom XML for each and every command. You can see add member has a XML file. So what this will have is mostly the error messages which we will get in the console. You can see. Let's open. Let's take a simple example. Get process. I'm trying to get a unavailable process, and it is showing a message, right? Cannot find a process with a name. So it's easily we can easily identify that, okay, this process is in this management module. So what I will do is I will open the resource file for this management module, and you can see process resources. And if I just do a search, we'll see that, okay, it has two search findings, and what we got is verify the process name is same or not. So yeah, this is the line where it is taking the content, a message, and printing in the console. That means if we want to improve an error message, the only file we have we had to change is this one. See, it's just a text file change. It's very simple. So that simple are some of the code changes we will have to do in any of the product, right? So just shown this to make sure, make you aware that some of the changes are very simple. In fact, my first change was the same with an error message that we are all familiar that if this error message, right? Parameter set cannot be resolved using named parameters. This was something that can be understood by PowerShell users who are aware of PowerShell in 1 or 2 years, but for a beginner, it's very difficult to identify. So it was just a XML file change, some wording change, which I have done. So if I try to do the same thing with name and ID, this time it will give a different message. Time see, it will give the existing one. Along with that, it will make it a little more verbose, saying name and ID cannot be used together. So it will say one or more parameters provided cannot be used together. So it's making little more easy. So similarly, whatever you identify as this error message is little difficult to understand, go ahead, find out the file and change and do a commit, raise a pull request. So pull request, right? For that, we'll have to move to the web browser, and I'll go to my repository where I have just done the code change. The moment I go here, it will identify that, okay, I have a new branch. See, I have a new branch published. So it will give an option to do a compare and pull request because GitHub identifies that, okay, I'm doing a contribution. You can see it is from right to left. So it is taking code changes from the split path branch from my repository to master branch of PowerShell repository. So you'll have to give a meaningful title. Make other switches mandatory as per issue. So I'll give the issue name. Let's search for the issue. So issue number is 12991, right? 12991. So I'll just make sure it's very easy to identify, and it has a PR template where to make it easy for reviewers to understand. So I'll make PR summary as changes as per issue to make switches mandatory. Then there is a checklist that will, it's kind of declaration. So we just need to make sure, okay, PR has a meaningful title. I have summarized all the changes. All the files have correct headers because I didn't modify anything. So we can make PR as work in progress by giving WIP prefix, but this is not work in progress. I'm done with the change. And is it posing any breaking changes? No breaking changes. And is there any change for user? No, there is no user facing changes. Documentation is not required because it's actually make the existing documentation meaningful. So no separate testing is required. If we are not aware, we can just leave it. It's not that mandatory. Just need to raise a pull request. This is a live contribution, so it's directly going and sitting in PowerShell repository. So this is the new pull request which we have just raised, and it has a lot of automated tests. It has a PowerShell which will be building on Linux machine, and it will execute the test. Split path works in Linux machine too, so it will make sure it works in Linux, different versions of Linux maybe. And it has same test for Mac operating systems because PowerShell core is available in Mac too, and it has similar test cases for Windows as well. So all these are pester tests, and it has it's all automated. So once this CI system is going to take some time. So once it's all green, then the automatically assigned reviewers are going to review the code and will give the commands, and based on that just will go right. They will say, okay, this particular part we can improve in this way, or this will impact some other scenario, because those people are more aware. Not just PowerShell team, a few other community members are more aware about complete internals. So they will say, okay, this code change is not going to work in this scenario. So based on that, you had to do changes like this. So we are also going to learn a lot in that. So we just made it live. So we can expect anyone giving comments, because not just the reviewers, anyone can go and comment. Even see, if I want to review some pull request, I can just open pull request dashboard and not dashboard, pull request page, and I can just read through some of the PRs already raised by some other contributors. And if I see some changes required, we can easily do the command. I mean, we can provide the feedback, and it's all well accepted. The only thing is it should be a healthy discussion. That's all. Yeah. Actually, I'm all done with the session, so just want to show how simple it is. See, there is nothing that we have done. We just made some 5 or 6 lines of code change without any C# coding, right? I just made false to true and just try to do a contribution. And within this itself, we have identified some issue, right? In the uh, newly built version, it is showing an old version. This is something that anyone can take and fix. It'll be some other file change or something like that. So like this, there are a lot of minor issues where we can start with. Then going forward, I mean, on the way down the line, we'll understand more about the internals, more about the modules and structures. Then we'll slowly jump into bigger things, right? And the book which is going to come is going to help us a lot. I'm really looking forward to it. So with that said, done with the session. We are almost just 7 minutes left, and I'm open to questions. And thanks everyone for joining, taking your Friday time to attend this session. Yes. Ajay, let me go to Q&As. We have only one. Yeah, we don't have any questions yet. Yep, I think then we are done with the session. Thank you all. Thanks for your time. And I will try to create a small article with all the instructions that a beginner can easily identify, how to identify issues and all. And one more thing which I want to show is how to find the recordings after maybe once after a few hours. We'll be having the recordings uploaded to the Techaholic page where we have published about the session. For the previous session, we have already uploaded the video, and it's right away you can view from the event announcement here. You can see it's embedded here. So similarly, we'll be uploading the video recording for this session too in Techaholic page. So please look forward for the update.
Thanks, Prasim.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.
You too.